Hello and welcome to another episode of In the Trenches with Gang Green. I'm your host, Bubbs. Today we have another episode of the New York Jets player previews as we will take a look at two more New York Jets, one on offense and the other coming on defense. This is the Monday edition and the 13th installment of the 2024 New York Jets player previews here on the podcast. Before we begin, let me tell you about our podcast partners, starting with our friends over at SeatGeek. SeatGeek is an app that delivers tickets from all over the internet and puts them into one spot to make it easier for you, the buyer. What makes SeatGeek so great is they rate each ticket on a scale from 1 to 10, so you know what type of deal you are getting on your ticket. Look for the green dots in the seating chart. Green means good. Those are the good deals. Those are the tickets you want to purchase. Plus, my viewers, use promo code BUBSONSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Click the SeatGeek link in the description down below. That'll take you to download the SeatGeek app. And again, that is promo code BUBSONSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Of course, preseason football is in full swing. The regular season's right around the corner. So if you want to secure your tickets for any NFL game, definitely check out SeatGeek. And it's not just sports. It's not just NFL. Any ticket, plays, shows, concerts. If you can buy a ticket for an event, SeatGeek has it. So use promo code BUBSONSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Also, my friends over at Huga House. You see me rocking my Huga House hat all the time on the podcast. If you want the hat that I wear all the time, or any of the hats that Aaron Rodgers wears, even Shane Gillis, Tyler Conklin, Shohei Ohtani, even division rival Josh Allen. There are so many athletes and celebrities that rock the Huga House apparel. Use my promo code BUBS for 15% off any purchase. Click the Huga House link in the description down below. That'll take you to the store and get yourself some of the same swag that QB1 Aaron Rodgers rocks all the time, and use promo code BUBS at checkout for 15% off. All right, now let's get into today's New York Jets player previews. We will take a look at two more New York Jets, Mike Williams, wide receiver on offense, and then we will take a look at linebacker CJ Mosley on defense. So really exciting episode here today on the podcast. We will start on the offensive side of the football as we always do, and we will start with Mike Williams, wide receiver, 6'4", 218 pounds. He is 29 years old, entering his age 29 and age 30 season. 2017 first-round pick, 7th overall, and he was out of Clemson and has spent all 7 of his NFL years, or the first 7 of his years in the NFL have all been in Los Angeles with the Chargers. 88 career games played dating back to his rookie season in 2017. So a veteran wideout here for the New York Jets. The Jets signed him on a 1-year deal worth up to $15 million, $10 million base salary with a $3.3 million signing bonus, $8.3 million fully guaranteed, and then $5 million in incentives. And in total, of course, that is worth up to $15 million. So after spending the first 7 years of his NFL career, after being selected in the first round, 7th overall from Clemson, it'll be the first time in Mike Williams' career that he spends a season away from Los Angeles here on a 1-year deal to fit the New York Jets all-in window. We all know how this deal went down. Of course, the Taylor ham, egg, and cheese, whatever, pork, egg, and cheese, whatever you want to call it, whatever side of the aisle of the debate you are on, Taylor ham, pork, either way, the sandwich sent by Jets Twitter legend NYJ Matt to the facility. You saw Mike Williams eating the sandwich, all that great stuff, ends up signing after the visit. The Jets didn't even let him leave the building that day, visited with the Jets, had some other visits scheduled the rest of the week. I think he was supposed to visit with the Panthers and a couple other teams. The sandwich and the New York Jets, of course, gave him a good enough deal, good enough offer where he didn't even leave the building. He signed with the New York Jets and just got activated off the PUP list about a week and a half ago now. And you got to be fired up if you're a New York Jets fan for Mike Williams. This is a guy that, one of the guys that I'm most looking forward to seeing to take in the field this year for the New York Jets. I mean, we talk about last year the way the New York Jets receiving core was constructed and the disappointing season from Alan Lazard. You had, the rookies in Xavier Gibson and of course, Jason Brownlee try and play a role, but they were learning. They were rookies. They were still unproven. They weren't anything special. And of course, Randall Cobb didn't provide anything at all. Of course, you had the whole McCole Hardman incident. So the point I'm getting to is Garrett Wilson had no help around him. Not only did he not have a quarterback, didn't have a very good offensive coordinator, he also had no help around him from a receiving perspective. He didn't have a legitimate number 2 guy next to him. It was supposed to be Alan Lazard, but that, of course, blew up in the Jets' face last year. So Mike Williams comes in as the perfect complement to Garrett Wilson. And you look at this Jets receiving core. We've already discussed Malachi Corley in a previous episode here. We'll discuss Garrett Wilson here very soon in the coming days. But it's a perfect receiving room. They all complement each other perfectly. You have Garrett Wilson, your do-it-all guy, your finesse guy, your legitimate number 1 option. Then you have Mike Williams, who is your physical one-on-one contested catch guy. And then you have Malachi Corley, who is your underneath speed guy, kind of gadget player in a way, which has coined him the nickname during his time in Western Kentucky and coming to the draft as Deebo Samuel 2.0, because he can do a little bit of everything. And, of course, the Yak King and all that great stuff. And that's what I'm most excited for with Mike Williams, is his contested catch ability. It fits Aaron Rodgers. It fits Aaron Rodgers' ability so well, because Mike Williams, contested catch, 50-50 guy, but is that kind of 70-30, 80-20 guy. Can go up, get the jump ball, red zone, in the end zone. Just a physical piece that this Jets offense was lacking over the last couple seasons, especially lacking, of course, around Garrett Wilson. And when you dive into some of the numbers, they're just extremely impressive when you look at Mike Williams. And I get he's coming off the torn ACL. We'll get to the injury stuff here soon. But some of his numbers are just so impressive. Even in the 3 games that he played last year before he tore his ACL, he had a very successful season going for him. In just 3 games played last year, he had 19 receptions on 26 targets for 249 yards, 13.1 yards per reception, and a touchdown. He was on his way to putting together a massive season. His last game of the season, when he tore his ACL, saw him catch 7 passes for 121 yards and 8 targets and a touchdown in that game. He averaged 17.3 yards per reception in that game. Unfortunately, his season came to an end. If he never got hurt last year, this would have been a guy that probably would have been on his way to his 3rd 1,000-yard season in his career. He's had 2 previous 1,000-yard seasons. 2019, he had 1,000 yards, and then in 2021, he also saw over 1,000 yards. In fact, he had over 1,100 yards that year, which was his best season of his career, both from a reception standpoint and a yard standpoint. But some of these other numbers, some of the more advanced numbers are very impressive. Since 2018, Mike Williams has averaged 15.8 yards per catch, which is first among wide receivers during that time. He has gone 15 straight games, which is around 115 targets without a drop, and has only had 1 drop in his last 23 games, and that is on 160 targets. So you talk about what the Jets struggled with last year. Drops. Alan Lazard, drops. Got benched for it. Mike Williams, the complete opposite of that. This is a guy that doesn't suffer many drops. Has only had 1 in his last 23 games. Now, the real stuff comes into play when you look at his contested catch numbers. He averages 1.28 contested catches per game, which is first among receivers since 2021. He's had 41 contested catches in 32 games. And in 2022, his last season where he played, 13 games, was healthy for the majority of the year prior to the torn ACL last year, he had a 57% contested catch rate, which was 11th best among wide receivers. So easily, statistically, and you watch him play, easily a top 10, top 15, top 7, even in some cases top 5 contested catch wide receiver. And you also look at the way he pairs now with Aaron Rodgers. You look at Mike Williams' route tree, and this is what I think has to get you really excited if you're a New York Jets fan, because the connection at him and Aaron Rodgers. will be able to build. When you look at Mike Williams' route tree and his route type and the percentage of routes that he runs, you look at what he did in 2022 and 2023. He ran go routes 31.1% of the time. The NFL average is 22.8%. So Mike Williams ran go routes 8.3% more than any other receiver in the NFL, or 8.3% more than the NFL average. When you look at that compared to Aaron Rodgers and his go route statistic, Aaron Rodgers has ranked 5th in attempts with 186 and second in yards, 2,186 on go routes from 2020 to 2022. So Aaron Rodgers has success with go routes, and Mike Williams runs go routes at a above 30% clip since 2022, which is 8% over the NFL average of 22.8. So the connection's already there. Rodgers is a go route guy, throws a ton of go routes, 186 attempts over 2020 to 2022, had over 2,000 yards on go routes. And of course, Mike Williams is a guy that runs a lot of go routes. So you could already see those two guys being able to connect on a lot of those. And that's just what makes, I think, this signing and just Mike Williams in general very, very exciting. You also look at some of his other numbers. He's had 100-plus yards in 28% of his games since 2021, which ranks 10th best among wide receivers, 9 100-plus yard games of a possible 32 there since 2021. So just a really, really underrated player. And I think, too, why Jets fans should like this signing and should be confident in this signing is every single one of Mike Williams' career years, or every single one of his 7 seasons, I should say, has been the number 2 behind Keenan Allen. You know, he walked in, yes, he was a first-round pick. Yes, he was 7th overall out of Clemson, but he had essentially walked in as the number 2 receiver, and he was the perfect complement to Keenan Allen. So, you know, my point here is you fully trust this guy to be a number 2 behind what should be one of the better receivers in the NFL in Garrett Wilson, because you saw what he was able to do alongside Keenan Allen. And kind of what that duo of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams was, which was one of the better duos in the NFL over the last, 5 to 7 years, ever since Keenan Allen entered the league. Really, I would say since 2019, really over the last 5 years, because the first 2 years of Keenan Allen's career, he didn't really break out a ton, even though he had a career high in touchdowns with 10 in 2018. It wasn't until 2019 where you really saw the yards, you really saw the receptions take a big jump. But what he was able to do all those years with Keenan Allen, you have to expect the same thing. Even though he'll be entering his age 30 season, he'll be 30 in October, even though he's coming off a torn ACL, you still have to expect that same thing alongside Garrett Wilson. And I think that's what is another piece that's so exciting, is what he was able to do alongside Keenan Allen. Ideally, he just carries that right over here with the Jets. And probably with, if we're being honest here, better quarterback play, Hall of Famer. Yes, he got the chance, of course, to play Rivers. I get all that. Yes, Justin Herbert was very good, but Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Famer. A little bit different there. So another number I want to get to, because this is one thing. If there was a knock on Mike Williams, it would be some of his inconsistency. He has been very inconsistent throughout his career. And you look at his last 2 seasons where he played most of the games, not including last year, which was pretty much a lost year, only 3 games played. 2021, he had 6 games with 90-plus yards. However, he had 5 games with under 40 yards. You go to 2022, he had 5 games with 90-plus yards. However, 5 games with under 35 yards. So you look at 2021 and 2022, he had 11 games where he saw over 90 yards receiving. But then there was also 10 games where he saw under 40 yards. 5 of those under 35. So that is the one knock on Mike Williams, is he's inconsistent. There will be weeks where he'll go out there, and I know this as a Mike Williams fantasy owner. That's the one knock on Mike Williams as a fantasy receiver. He'll go out there one week, put up 27, 30 fantasy points in a PPR league, and the next week go out there and put up 3. But that's the truth. This is a guy that will go out there and put up 10 catches for 120 yards, 130 yards, and a touchdown, and in the next week have 2 catches for 13 yards on 4 targets and be a non-factor. So that's just the way he is. There's going to be weeks where he's just not going to be much of a factor, but then there's also going to be weeks where he's going to have 8-9 receptions and over 100 yards and finding the end zone and all that great stuff. So that's the one knock on Mike Williams is the inconsistency. Has had 11 games from 2021 to 2022 where he saw over 90 yards, but also had 10 games where he saw under 40. So there will be some inconsistency there. That's just the way he is. That's always how he's been since he's entered the league. Now, of course, a lot of people, and this is where we'll close things out and we'll head to CJ Mosley. I know this is a little bit of a longer player preview for Mike Williams, but I'm super fired up and I wanted to get into a lot of his numbers because they're really, really interesting and it's really exciting when you break down some of these different analytics. But and a lot of people look at Mike Williams as injury prone, and I don't want to come across biased or too optimistic, but I don't really view Mike Williams. I think Mike Williams gets a lot more the injury prone label thrown on him a little bit harshly, if that makes sense. I mean, I understand last year, of course, was a lost year. Can't deny it. Tore his ACL 3 games, obviously. But prior to that, you go back to 2018, right? His rookie year, he only played 10 games. But you go back to 2018 up until 2022, these were his games played per year. 16, 15, 15, 16, 13. That's not really a guy that's super, super injury prone. I mean, 2018, he played all 16 games, every game. 2019, 2020 only missed 1 game. 2021 only missed 1 game when they went to the 17-game schedule. And 2022 played 13 games. If you get 13 to 15 games out of Mike Williams this year, I think you're definitely satisfied with that if you're a Jets fan. But this notion that Mike Williams is super, super injury prone, I never really fully got because you look at that stretch from 2018 to 2022, he was primarily playing. He was averaging 15 games played per year. You know, so people put the label on Mike Williams as if he's this guy that's plays 9 games and in 8 games, 12 games, 7 games, 5 games. Like, no, he could play a full season. He's done it before. He can go an entire season where he only misses a week. Now, is he going to pop up on the injury report a lot? Is he going to be on the injury report maybe 12, 13 weeks out of a season? Yeah, it's certainly possible, but he'll play through it. That's always been the case with him. He plays through a lot. And he's going to pop up in the injury report. Not he's going to miss time, but he'll pop up on it. So that's the closing thing there, Mike Williams. Of course, coming off a torn ACL, you always have some concerns, but this isn't like this is a guy that's 36 years old and this is his 3rd torn ACL or something, and you've already started to see a decline. I think he'll be all right. I mean, we saw what Breece Hall was last year. I know he's younger, but Breece Hall looked fine. I think you have to trust that Mike Williams can come back and bounce back in a very, very strong way this season coming off the torn ACL for the Jets. So very exciting to see what Mike Williams can do for the New York Jets this season alongside Garrett Wilson. Now we move on here to the defensive side of the football, and we go to linebacker CJ Mosley, 6'2", 231 pounds, 32 years old, 2014 first-round pick, 17th overall by the Baltimore Ravens out of Alabama. He spent the first 5 years of his career with the Baltimore Ravens and then, of course, signed with the Jets in the offseason of 2019, where he has spent 4 years playing, although he's been with the Jets for 5. Of course, he sat out the COVID season. So in total has been in the NFL for 10 years, has played in 9 of the 10 seasons, and he technically enters his 11th NFL season, but his 10th actually playing as he, of course, sat out the COVID year. And man, what a career, Jet career, I would say CJ Mosley has had. This is a guy that at first it didn't look great. Came onto the Jets, signed a huge, huge contract in 2019. Of course, the same offseason that the New York Jets acquired Le'Veon Bell, and only played in 2 games. The groin injury forced him to miss the rest of the year, had the surgery, missed all of 2019 after just playing in 2 games. And then 2020 comes around, and he sits out due to COVID. And you're starting to wonder as a Jets fan, okay, in 2 seasons with the team, he played essentially 2 games of a possible 30. in his first 2 seasons with the Jets. So missed pretty much 28 games with sitting out with COVID, of course, his decision. And then, of course, only playing 2 games his first year. And you're giving him a ton of money. And as a Jet fan, you're thinking, man, this doesn't look great. You know, him and Le'Veon Bell are going to be kind of put in the same category for a very long time. You're going to look back at the offseason, remember all the money they spent and how it didn't pan out. And then fast forward to 2021, new regime with Robert Saleh. CJ Mosley comes back, and he's been awesome. Mosley has quickly turned into one of my favorite New York Jets, legitimately. And it's not only with his play on the field, but also his locker room presence, his leadership. I mean, this is a guy that took a massive, massive pay cut just back in May to help this team win now and in the future. Restructured his contract. It was 2-year, restructured it to a 2-year, $17.25 million deal, which helped the Jets clear up $14.2 million in cap space. He was originally set to make a base salary of $17 million. So put his own contract aside, put himself aside, went for the team route, team first, took the contract restructure, freed up $14.2 million for the Jets in cap space. And I think that just shows some of the leadership. It shows his team first mentality. He's been excellent in the locker room after what looked like at first a very, very poor contract for the Jets. Has turned out to be quite the addition. And he's been very durable, very, very durable. He has played 50 of a possible 51 games in the last 3 seasons. Played 16 in 2021, only missed 1 game, and has played all 34 the last 2 seasons, 17 in 2022 and 17 in 2023, and has played at a very high level. And I know the age is up there. Of course, he's 32 years old. I get that, but he's still playing at a very high level. He is still a top 10, top 7 linebacker in the NFL. And he has been a big reason why Quincy Williams is where he is. And he has transformed into the linebacker that he's turned into. Is a lot of it's CJ Mosley's leadership and him kind of helping him through his early parts with the Jets. And now he's, of course, an all-pro at linebacker. And Mosley and Quincy Williams have turned into one of the best 1-2 punches, the best linebacker unit in my eyes in the NFL. So love what the Jets have gone out of Mosley. And I think you've got to be excited again for what they can get out of him again this year. Just an excellent leader, great football mind, leader on the defense, anchor on the defense. And the numbers back it up as well. Not only do the eye test, but the numbers back it up as well. He's ranked top 10 in tackles in each of the past 3 seasons, including 4th in 2021. So it was top 5 in tackles in 2021. Some of the other numbers. Top 3 highest tackles in a season have all come with the Jets. And that's something, too. It feels like part of this, Mosley has actually gotten better with age. You know, some of his best seasons in his career have come with the Jets here since he's hit age 30. So he's actually gotten better with age, which I think is really positive if you're a Jets fan. And that's why I don't really buy into the whole notion of, oh, he's slowing down or, oh, he's only got a couple years left. I get that, but he hasn't really shown many signs of slowing down. I mean, this is a guy last year that put up 151 tackles. He finished top 10 in the NFL in tackles. If he was slowing down, tackles wouldn't be there. You'd probably see some durability issues. I don't see that yet. He's had 477 tackles in the last 3 seasons with the Jets. Not once in his 5 years with Baltimore did he hit 150-plus tackles. He has hit 150-plus tackles in 3 straight seasons, which is just the 5th player in the NFL over the last 24 years to have 150-plus tackles in 3 straight seasons. So has put together seasons that not many have put together over the last 2 decades, which is another really, really impressive piece. He also had 60 tackles resulting in a defensive stop. Was tied for 5th among linebackers in forced fumbles, both in 2021 and 2023, with 2 in each of those seasons. So has shown the ability to punch the ball out, get the ball on the turf, and then had an 82.9 PFF grade as well last year in 2023. I mean, there's been so many impressive moments from CJ Mosley when it comes to his just football smarts, his recognition as the Mike linebacker, where Saleh has given him the kind of keys to the defense in a way where if he sees something similar to Aaron Rodgers on the offense, where if he sees something, he's going to audible. Mosley, there's been a couple times where he sees something defensively, audibles, and then it'll work out and he'll make a play or somebody else will make a play and something along those lines. So just his leadership and his veteran presence on the field has also been noticed. That's another part that doesn't show up in the stat sheet that you don't always see, but it's such a crucial part. Mosley's been awesome. He's been awesome. Great in the locker room. And I'll be honest, I don't really know if Quincy Williams, like I said a little bit ago, is the player he is now if it wasn't for CJ Mosley. I mean, let's be honest here. He's learning from one of the better linebackers in the NFL, learning from a guy with all this experience. If you take Mosley off of this team, I don't know if Quincy Williams is the player he is. Mosley's also one of those guys that can make guys around him better. So 7 passes defended as well last year. We talked about the 2 forced fumbles. He also had 5 tackles for loss. Has had 12 tackles for loss the last 3 seasons. He's had 7 quarterback hits. So just impressive numbers, impressive player, impressive human being. So many great attributes I think you can put with Mosley. And I think just not the cherry on top, but just showed you what type of guy he is and what he has been for the Jets is taking that contract restructure this offseason to help clear up $14.2 million in cap space over a 2-year, $17.25 million deal to help the Jets and spend that money elsewhere. So just, I think you've got a level you see, and entering his 5th year playing wise with the Jets, 6th overall. And I get the age, he's 32, but sure, is he maybe starting to, is he starting to probably decline a little bit? Yeah, that's natural, but I don't think you've really seen it yet at all, really. I don't think you've seen much of a major decline. Still playing at a high level, still putting up 150 plus tackles. Until he doesn't do that, I'm not going to be like, oh, this guy's washed, this guy's declining. Like, to me, he looks as good as he's been the last 3 seasons, and he put up some of the best seasons of his career since he's hit age 30. And I think most people would agree with that. Now, the one thing about Mosley, his coverage could use a little bit of help. Not excellent in coverage. I feel like it sometimes is kind of 50-50 in coverage. There's moments where he does good things in coverage, and there's moments that kind of make you scratch your head. But something else with Mosley that I would like to see more of this year. I want to see him come down with a couple more interceptions. There have been a good amount of times over the last couple seasons, especially last year specifically. And this isn't just Mosley. This is kind of the Jets defense as a whole. They don't get many interceptions. That's what kind of makes Ashton Davis a little bit of a special piece to have, a nice piece to have, is he's just kind of a ball magnet. The Jets at times struggle to turn the ball over on defense. They struggle to force turnovers. Sometimes they struggle to hold on interceptions, not just Mosley. But there was times Mosley only had 1 interception last year, or 1 interception rather. And I know interceptions aren't the end-all be-all, especially with everything else he does. And he's never been a big interception guy. That's not really what linebackers are. But he could have had last year legitimately 4 to probably 6 interceptions if he would have held on to a couple. I mean, there was at least 2 that I could probably remember. He had 1 in the Chiefs game. Now, he did have an interception in the Chiefs game after he dropped the pick. He dropped the pick in the Chiefs game. I think if I remember, he might have dropped one as well in the Chargers game. There was at least 2-3 drops last year. Might have been maybe one in the Browns game too, where it hits his hands and he just drops it. He could have had probably 4 picks that last year at least, or he was in the area of balls that he could have gotten. There was a couple of them that actually hit his hands right on. So that's one thing that, if there was one thing that I wish TJ Mosley could be a little bit stronger with, it would be hauling in and catching interceptions. But other than that, he's been an awesome piece. And again, when you have, it's not really his job all the time. It's not a linebacker's job to pick up 6 interceptions in a season, but when they come right into your hands, you would like to see them sometimes haul them in. But either way, Mosley's been great. Tackle numbers, we mentioned all the tackling, 150 plus in the last 3 seasons. You look at, of course, the contract restructured, his durability. He's been excellent, and he's been getting better with age, in my eyes. So really excited to see what he can do again this year as he enters his 11th season in the NFL, 10th playing. So wild. He's been in the league for a very long time and continues that this year with the New York Jets. So that'll do it for the episode of New York Jets player previews. Mike Williams and CJ Mosley. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. Both of these players, what are your expectations? We will have the 14th installment of the New York Jets player previews on Wednesday. So stay tuned for that. And until next time, as always, JETS, 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 Jets.